Hello, everyone. I'm Olga Fleming, CEO of Y&R PR.
And I'm Courtney Walker, Managing Director of Y&R PR.
So, why are we here today? Why are we talking to you from our respective homes? Well, we thought we would take a break from the craziness of what has occurred in our world around us to pause and provide a little commentary on, what it's like to work from home 24/7, because it certainly seems like that. And also provide us some perspective and advice and counsel or guidance, whatever you want to call it, for some brands out there who are trying to communicate in this landscape, right? So our vlog is going to be called The New Abnormal, because I know we're calling it the new normal, but in many ways this is very abnormal. And today's topic area is the rush to be relevant. So we're going to talk about a lot of brands that are rushing to be relevant, and if that's good, bad, or how you can be relevant in an environment where everybody's really focused on one thing. So, um, Courtney, I know you look fantastic today, by the way.
Thank you. That's because I haven't had lipstick on for 2 weeks since you've seen me. That's why.
There's a lot of interesting side effects of working from home primarily, which is your skin looks great because you don't have to put on makeup for an extensive
Correct.
period of time.
Okay.
You're trying different recipes, maybe from your Pinterest board that you've pinned over the years, but never had the time to do it. So I don't know. I'm really enjoying trying out new recipes and even cocktails for that matter.
That's because you've got older children. Like I feel constantly like I'm either teaching math, which PS, I guess I'm not very good at, to working, to having calls, to helping with homework. Like the whole uh, uh, like online schooling is, I don't know what the consequence is going to be. Like I told, uh, like the SAEs, AEs, it's sort of like, good luck in 20 years because you're going to have a whole generation of people that did not go to school for like a half a year. And I don't know what this is going to look like in 20 years. So, I mean, I did the best I could, is what I'm trying to say. I did the best I could. So I feel like really kind of ping ponging between, like, I feel like I have no downtime. And you said this before, and it really hit home with me, which is there's something to being in an office or being in an office or in a cube, and people can just sort of walk by and have conversations.
Right.
Now you are scheduled to death. It's like every half an hour, every 15 minutes, people have to get time with you to talk. And then you're just sort of booked up from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then you have to do work on top of that.
I think I've actually spent more FaceTime with people in this scenario than I do when we're all in the office.
Yeah.
It's not often that you sit so close to somebody. I mean, it's interesting that we're social distancing, but we're actually very close to one another with the technology, whether it's Zoom or Teams or Skype or whatever anybody's using. But um, I had this conversation the other day with one of our team members that I think I've spent more FaceTime with them, in the working from home environment than I have while we've been in an office for like a month. So I think it's a very interesting thing. And I wonder if it's going to really help to shore up relationships in the office too.
Yeah, well, it's weird because I feel a little bit more intimate on video. So just as an example, so we did today our team workout.
Yes.
I would never, maybe because I'm shy or whatever, get dressed in shorts and like a tank top and go see everybody in the office. I just wouldn't do it. Okay. Like I'm almost 50 years old. I am not going to do that. But I felt fine doing it over video conference, and it was great, and I got to see everybody, and it was a nice bonding moment. So yeah, I think that there's definitely something to that.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I think that companies that really help to kind of find ways to build their culture even while they're not necessarily in real life together are going to survive and actually maybe even come out of this much stronger, right?
Yeah.
I know that, we're growing. We've had a lot of new team members that recently joined us in the last, I would say, 4 weeks. And I think about them and I think about how, people who just recently started, they haven't had the opportunity to be around us, right, in an office
Yeah.
environment. And now they have to get to know people in a virtual environment. But I actually think that they may get to know us a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, we're
And
lucky
quicker.
because we're small. We're lucky because we're small.
And I would recommend this to everybody who's listening. It's like, I would make sure that people understand that, like, let's not fall into the pitfall, right, of working 24/7. Problem is that you have nothing else to do. So from Monday to Friday, you end up being in front of that computer from, let's say, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And, you don't think anything of it if you're sending out an email at 9 p.m. at night or what have you, or connecting with clients at that point in time. But we really should try to help our staff really put parameters around their day, because otherwise, it's just Groundhog's Day and you're just working 24/7.
It's interesting. I read this article. I'm going through ups and downs, honestly. And I read this article in Harvard Business Review that has stuck with me. And the headline was something along the lines of, like, that feeling that you are feeling right now is grief. Right now, you are so disconnected from what you used to do that you're sort of grieving what you used to do. And there's anticipatory grief. Right. What is this going to look like when all of this is done? And that got me thinking that I feel like that's how some brands are actually communicating. Like, when something tragic happens, and we see this in cancer and a lot of, like, life-threatening diseases, people don't know what to say.
Right.
People don't know how to react. So they just sort of react. They just sort of say something, just kind of to say something. And I feel like that's where a lot of brands are, that they feel compelled to just say something to say something. And I think that's a real mistake.
I agree with you. I have to say that, and that's kind of getting into our topic for today, which is the rush to be relevant. I think that there's a lot of companies right now that are rushing to be relevant. And I know that there's a lot of agencies out there that they themselves are trying to be relevant by telling their brands, you need to be relevant. But I think that the best possible advice that you can give a client or a brand is to do the right thing. And doing the right thing sometimes means not doing anything. One of our WPP agencies did some research that showed that 43% of people want to hear from brands, but they want to hear what they're doing for the COVID-19 crisis.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear about, social distancing. They've been told that. I mean, we've seen brands like McDonald's and Coca-Cola who've changed their logos, right, to bring to life the importance of social distancing. But I think social distancing is something that has been ingrained in us if you watch any of the press briefings on a daily basis. That's not working, right? So I think that there's one thing about being relevant and this whole other business about rushing to be relevant. I think everybody will play a role as our society adjusts to this new abnormal, because I don't think it's a new normal. Normal is, I don't know what is normal, right? So I think that we as communicators really need to dig deep and be very strategic about the advice that we give our clients, so that it's not self-serving, right? I mean, as agencies, of course, we want people to continue to communicate, continue pushing forward programs, but there's a time and a place for it. And we can't rush other people out there just because we want to stay relevant.
Yeah, I'd say the only caveat I would make, I totally agree with you. And I saw the McDonald's thing and I thought, I know I have to social distancing. Like, I don't need a reminder. I get the two arches that don't have to touch each other. I thought it was clever but it didn't really advance anything.
No.
I would say the only caveat to that is that there are brands that, okay, just going back to the grieving example, like if knock on wood, something terrible happened to me, there are friends who I know are going to kind of knock on my door, and it would not be weird. Same thing with brands. Like, it is not weird to me that Nike had a whole ad talking about let's play inside.
Right.
Because Nike is a brand that wades in those waters, wades in the Kaepernick waters, right, wades in sort of the social issue waters.
Right.
And so I have no problem with it.
Well, it's authentic to them.
It's very authentic to them.
It's authentic to them. And, you know, I hear in the back of my mind, Jim Joseph, who's BCW's global president, and I hear him saying, you know, your brand experience has to be the same, and that brand experience has to be the same, regardless of whether you're in a crisis, out of a crisis. You have to be authentic to who your brand is. Right. And, you know, it was interesting. I also saw that Absolute made the switch to start making hand sanitizer. And again, it wasn't about talking about themselves. It's about, here's what we're doing to help people at a time of need.
It's a real thing.
Those are the stories, right? Yeah. So those are the stories that I think that are relevant, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not this rush to be relevant. And I've seen, actually, I'm not going to call them out, but I've seen other agencies putting out, you know, thought leadership content saying, here's how you remain relevant. And, you know, my fear with that is that we're going to have a lot of companies going out there trying to be relevant and really just creating more distance between them and their consumers.
I kind of feel like the reason behind you are rushing to be relevant is because you don't want to be caught, not unawares, but you don't want to be caught like you don't care.
Right.
Like
exactly.
You aren't part of the conversation. And that's selfish in a way.
It's very selfish. And I think that's, at the end of the day, this is about helping your neighbor, helping people around you, making sure that, you know, at this time of uncertainty, because we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. We don't know what, you know, May will bring upon us. But we know one thing, that the human spirit is resilient. And we also know that people will remember brands that were there for them. And I agree with you. It's interesting to see that the companies that actually are doing the right thing are not actually publicizing it.
Yeah. Just making this full circle.
Yeah.
This is the other hobby horse I'm on, is that people are going to remember how they were treated during this time.
Exactly.
That I don't, and that goes back to agencies and that goes back to companies, that people are going to remember how they were treated as an employee. Were they informed? Did they feel like people cared about them? And I think that this is every company has to think about it. The companies that really have to think about it are people like Whole Foods, people like Trader Joe's, people who are still having employees that are out there on the front line.
You know, what I would recommend companies do is lean into the areas that they own, right? Lean into the places that you can do the most good, right? That are authentic to your brand. Don't try to do things that are outside of who you are, because it will feel disingenuous. One of the things that we wanted to do on this blog is have an opportunity to just talk real, right?
Yeah.
Have an opportunity to wrestle with some of the things that other communicators potentially might be wrestling. Some brands might be wrestling, and, you know, bring you just kind of our, you know, unfiltered opinions, comments.
Yeah.
So we hope that you found this fun and interesting. We are definitely going to, you know, provide you maybe even with an opportunity to ask us questions or submit topics for us to discuss. But we hope that we can start a real conversation about what companies like ours, communications companies like ours, can do to provide value and become real thought partners to our clients, and not just, you know, rush to be relevant. So thank you for spending a few minutes with us, some time with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye.